We're in conversation with one of India's most celebrated and respected entrepreneur, visionary and thought leader, Narayana Murthy, the chairman of Infosys. Sir, thank you so much for giving ET Now this interview. It's an absolute pleasure having you on the channel. Thank you so much.
It is always a pleasure to speak with you, Chandra.
Thank you, sir. So, when we met you last year around September, you were deeply anguished about the state of the economy, about the state of governance. You said that perhaps we are in a situation much worse than 1991 because we failed to live up to high expectations. A year down the line, has your view changed? Where are we now? If you can give us some perspective on that.
No, I think we continue to flounder. The anxiety level has in fact worsened. The performance of India compared with the expectations has in fact become worse. So therefore, I think today there is much greater cause for concern for all of us concerned about India.
Right. Who do you think is to blame for this crisis? Is the government to blame, or is it a function of macroeconomic forces? Who is really to blame for the crisis that we are in?
Well, it's not a question of blaming. I think the right question is to ask who could do something to correct this. I would say, being a macroeconomic issue, I think ideally the first player who can add significant value is clearly the central government. Second would obviously be state governments, and the third would be corporates.
If you can elaborate on that, because in the last 1 year the government has announced a series of reforms. They've been talking about how they will encourage investment. Where do you think they have gone wrong, or do you think they haven't done as much as they should have? What area should they specifically have focused on more?
No, I think we have not made it welcome for foreign direct investment as much as they expected us to. Second, we have not accelerated the growth of infrastructure. Third, we have not provided easy access to critical raw materials like coal, etc. So when you combine all these things with the fact that there has been inflation, that we have had the issue of current account deficit, and that the rupee consequently has been devalued much more than what we all thought, I think these are all very serious issues.
Mr. Murthy, a lot of people see the general elections as the only catalyst that will bring in some form of change, some form of improvement. Do you also believe that, now everybody is just sitting and waiting for the general elections to happen?
In some sense, yes, because the elections will have to be declared sometime in March or perhaps April. So therefore, there is not that much time, and consequently almost everybody is resigned to the fact that not much will happen between now and perhaps July.
But will a change in government actually bring in positive change, like what foreign institutional investors have been betting on in the last couple of months?
It's not so much the change in government as the change in mindset, as the change in the leadership. So therefore, once we have people who are focused towards growth, people who are focused towards encouraging the industry to grow faster, making sure that they pay more taxes, and then using the taxes to make the life of the poor better, I think we should be on our way towards betterment.
And in terms of perception, has anything changed at all among investors or clients or CEOs who you meet on your trips about India?
Well, I do travel quite a lot, but I would say that the image of India has become worse in the last 3-4 months.
Any particular trigger for this? Any particular factor in particular?
Well, I think there have been a lot of tax cases against multinationals, transfer pricing issues.
Do you think this government overdrive to collect taxes is hurting FDI in a big way? You have examples such as Nokia, Shell, Vodafone. Is that really hurting FDI in a way?
Well, I think there is nothing wrong in collecting what is legitimate insofar as the government is concerned. But if we file cases or if we demand taxes based on interpretations and if they go into courts, then I think there would be concern, there would be anxiety.
On the policy front, Mr. Murthy, we have a pro-reform finance minister, a highly reputed RBI governor. Has that combination worked at least in a small way to assuage market sentiment or business sentiment in any way?
I think the RBI governor has done a pretty good job in terms of keeping the rupee-dollar exchange rate. I think he has done a very good job. There is no doubt about it. He has brought a sense of cheer to the market. Our finance minister is, of course, a first-rate finance minister, one of the finest in the world. There is no doubt about it. But somehow, the overall system is not working. The overall system is not delivering what is needed.
Right.
And the results are there. You see, our growth rate has gone down. So, foreign direct investment has slowed down.
In terms of the overall business environment, I remember you've mentioned this before that, the government doesn't have to rely on coalition or opposition support for small issues like interpretation of tax clause or even visa on arrival policies. Have those issues even been looked at in any way, or is there still, a lot of indifference to those concerns?
No, I think, unfortunately, we have not made travel to India easy for foreigners. I can understand the government taking precautions insofar as travel to India from certain countries are concerned. That is understandable. But travel to India from well-known people in the United States should not be difficult. Time and again, I get mail from such people, well-known academicians, presidents of well-known universities, well-known professors, people who are coming to address conferences here, and they don't get visa. I think that is, and similarly, where high-profile CEOs.
Right.
So if you don't give visas easily to these people, then how will you raise the image of India? How will you get goodwill for India?
Right.
That's something that our government has to consider very carefully.
Right. One argument that the government keeps making is that there's been a shift in the balance of power from the executive and the legislature to the judiciary. Can the government really take cover under the fact that institutional activism has gone up, or we have a very active judiciary that scrutinizes government policies? Is that really tying their hands?
No, I don't think making it easy for foreigners to come to India, making it easy for foreign companies to invest more and more in India, making it easy for academic institutions out there in the West and in India to collaborate. I don't think none of them has been at all slowed down by any of the court decisions. No, I don't think so. Just a question of mindset.
And Mr. Murthy, I know you're very apolitical, but you know, just a broad sense of what the recent state elections have meant. Does it send out a signal that there is a push, a renewed push for clean governance ahead of the general elections next year?
No, I think there is a very important message that the Delhi elections have sent, and that is, it is possible for people with very little money and other resources to win the election if they have a strong and powerful message to the people, if they can bring hope and confidence to the people. And I think that is what the Aam Aadmi Party has done in Delhi elections. That's a very important message.
Do you see that catching ground in the rest of the country as well, or is this, you know, a new trend that people have latched onto? Are we prepared for such a parallel political movement?
Well, it's no more parallel. It's mainstream, right? In Delhi, it's mainstream.
Right.
It's the second largest party. Well, I hope that such movements gain momentum, because at the end of the day, all of us want India to become a better place. All of us Indians to lead a better standard of life. We want poverty to be removed. So therefore, I think any mechanism that will bring good quality people into politics is welcome.
I know you've been asked this question before, the inevitable question about Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi, and you've equally praised them both on previous occasions. But going by the mood of the nation, do you think people would rather place their bets or their vote on an able administrator than, you know, an idealistic leader promising a lot of political reform?
No, I am just a citizen. I am also apolitical. For me, as long as we have a leader who will encourage businesses to grow fast, collect more and more taxes, and use those taxes efficiently and effectively to make life for the poor people better, I am happy. Therefore, the moral is simply this: encourage businesses more and more to grow faster and faster, to create more and more jobs, collect more and more taxes, and use it to make the poor people's lives better. I don't mind any leader coming and doing this. I'll be very grateful to that person, whether it is Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Narendra Modi, or somebody else. Why not?
I have to ask you, what do you make of Nandan Nilekani's plunge into politics? It's fairly public knowledge now, and he's also come out and said that he wants to be a doer and not just a thinker. You know, how did you react to this when you first heard about it?
No, I think I was very happy. I have known him for 34 years, ever since I was a 22-year-old young man. I have tremendous admiration for what he has done in the government. I think UIDAI is an extraordinary initiative. He had a wonderful career at Infosys. He's a very honest man, very decent person, very intelligent, very hardworking, and very patriotic. So what more do you want in your MP?
Right.
So therefore, I think it is good if people like Nandan were to stand for election, and I think they should be elected.
Right. But do you think it's a big risk, because corporate names in politics haven't really clicked in a big way? If you take examples such as Meera Sanyal and Captain Gopinath, precedents like that.
Well, let's remember one thing, that while I have tremendous respect for Captain Gopinath and Meera Sanyal, we all have to remember that Nandan's contribution is much more significant.
Right.
UIDAI is the first attempt in the history of India to give identity to every Indian. That's a huge project. That's a very important project, and it has been done extremely well so far. Number two, I think he was the CEO of Infosys. He did a good job. Number three, he is a great articulator. He has written a wonderful book,
Imagining India.
Imagining India. So when you look at all these things, I do think that he puts himself in an entirely different space.
I think you'll be happy he's contesting from South Bangalore, the place.
I'm very happy wherever he contests from. He deserves to be elected, because we want good people. That's all there is to it. We want honest people, we want decent people, we want smart people, we want patriotic people, we want articulate people, we want people who have understood the modern world, we have understood the developed countries, because we want all those wonderful ideas to come and make things better for this country. So why not?
Will he make a good Prime Minister as well? That's the latest buzz doing the rounds.
You know, again, we live in a parliamentary system. Unlike the presidential system where people vote for the president, in this case, the party has to, or the coalition has to elect the Prime Minister. So, while I have no doubt at all that Nandan is wonderful, where, you know, in his competence, hard work, sincerity, honesty, etc., etc., it is for the coalition to elect. Who are we to say, right?
Did he come to you for guidance or advice, Mr. Murthy? Because I remember you were very supportive when he joined the UIDAI.
Sure, but you see, ever since he went to UIDAI, he has not called me on his own even once. However, whenever I have called, he has called me back immediately. That is because he wants to separate himself completely from business.
Right.
I think that's the right thing. There's nothing wrong with that. So therefore, while we have tremendous respect for each other, I have a lot of affection for him. It is just that you know, that it's not. I mean that he hasn't called me for a rightful reason.
Right. I'm really coming to the last segment of my interview. You know, 2013 has been momentous for, and you've effectively sort of pressed the reset button on your life. Just personally, how have the last 7 months been for you? If you can give me some perspective.
You know,
on
this is not the time to comment on it. It's somewhat early right now.
Right.
It's hardly 5 months. We'll talk about it some other time.
Right. I remember, you know, when you took charge, you mentioned this essay from HBR on transient advantages. Wanted to know if you've been reading anything else that's interesting recently that you'd like to share, anything inspiring?
No, what I've been reading right now is primarily about Bayesian theorem.
Okay.
That's about statistics. So therefore, that may not be appropriate for this audience.
Right. Mr. Murthy, you know, a lot of people are surprised that you're able to continue at the same pace at 67. Tell us how you manage that. Is there some secret potion, or, you know, the fact that Rohan's helping you, is that a big advantage because you have a sounding board you can trust 100%? What is the secret?
No, I think at the end of the day, most of our energy comes from mental energy. As long as you are in a state of mind that is full of enthusiasm, hope, confidence and joy, then physical energy will come.
Lastly, any message that you would like to share with viewers of ET Now for the new year? And, you know, I'm sure some of the viewers could be employees or investors in Infosys. Any message that you would like to share for them?
Well, you know, I would wish every one of them a wonderful 2014. We have to work harder in 2014 than we did in 2013. We have to become even more patriotic Indians in 2014. We have to benchmark with the best in the world and work harder, smarter, and make sure that this is a better country in 2014 than in 2013. That's what I would say.
Sure. Mr. Murthy, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much again for this interview, and on behalf of ET Now, I'd like to wish you a very happy and prosperous 2014.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks.